Hello, everybody. My name is Serena Bugren, and I am with Pinnacle. Everybody should see my screen. It looks like you can. I am looking at the audience view. So you should see this slide presentation. And it's going to be today myself and Lisa Halava of Leading Response will be hosting this together. If you haven't done a educational dinner seminar yet, this is a really great program. It's a great way to build your pipeline of leads. It's a great way to get in front of a lot of people, especially the new to Medicare folks. So some of these are best practices we've come across just from doing a lot of these. So I'm going to go slide by slide with you, go over some pointers. Lisa will chime in as well as what she sees and what her role is in all this, to hopefully give you a better clarification on, running one of these seminars, why you might want to do that, the types of questions to ask and what to look for, okay? And I will send this presentation out to you guys, as well as you should get a recording sent to you the day after this of this entire webinar. And throughout it, I forgot to mention, throughout this, as we go through, there is a chat box. So type your questions in there. That's probably the easiest way to do it, and then we can address them all at the end. So the agenda, I know I kind of did this already, but just a brief, rundown of what we want to accomplish today. And again, if you think of things we're not mentioning, please put them in the chat box, okay? I want to start with the venues. So when we say these educational seminars, what I'm pretty much talking about are these dinner seminars that everybody's hearing about, right? So there's educational seminars. You can do a Medicare 101 at your library in the middle of the day. That's okay, but you're not going to get the turnout that, we're talking about in this presentation today, which is talking about doing these dinner seminars for people turning 65. So when we talk about venues, we're really going to be talking about what type of venues you want to use when you're booking these dinner seminars, okay? That's what all the hype is lately. The dates, what days of the week work, date-wise, what you should stay away from, obviously holidays, Fridays, we'll go over that. What time frame we want to do these seminars. Now remember, because they're educational, not like a sales presentation, we can serve meals, and you want to serve a meal because that's how you'll get a turnout, right? So we'll go over that. What are those guidelines? How do I handle that with the price point that CMS gives you? Materials for the event. So one thing I always point out, and I'll talk about this down the road here, is when you go to these and you host these, people want to walk away with something in their hands. Whether it's just a flyer with the Medicare premiums, whether it's something you make, that goes over maybe MSP or whatnot. They just want something to go home with. A brochure that you might make. The presentation options, obviously there's different styles. So everybody's different. Some people are going to use a PowerPoint. Some people are not. And however you're comfortable. So obviously there's leeway there. We'll go over that. The type of follow-up. That's really important because you can do an excellent seminar, have amazing food, but then if you drop the follow-up or you're not good at that part, you want these to turn into sales. That's why we're doing this, right? So that's key. Expectation, again, what you should expect in terms of outcomes, in terms of attendance, and then obviously, we got to look at cost, right? So they're not cheap, and I'll acknowledge that. So what are some funding options? How, Pinnacle obviously can assist you with that as well with co-op. So we'll go over that. So some of the best practices, how did we come up with these? Now, myself personally, that's probably why they asked me to do this topic. I attend a lot of these. As a whole, our company has attended over 300 seminars in the last 12 months. Not myself personally, but I have attended a ton. We like to help you guys with all aspects. So from the beginning, how do I find a venue? What are the types of questions I should ask? What am I looking for? How do I get in touch with Leading Response, which is Lisa, who will be on a little down the presentation here, and what do they do? So we'll help you from beginning to end. Again, we've attended a number of seminars, and like we mentioned, you are allowed to serve a meal because it's educational only. However, here's the caveat. The meal's got to be $15 or less a person. And I know that's hard because dinners, that might work for breakfast or lunch. Dinner's tough. So, what do I find works with that? I'll go over that for you, but I could tell you, you want to look at like a pizza place. Mexican places work well. Sometimes those buffets as well work well. They have side rooms. So some of those are options. We'll go over that for you. The meal, that's going to increase your attendance by at least 60%. So I have seen people not do meals. I've seen it all, right? And it sounds cute, you know, desserts only. I really liked that idea. I thought it sounded like a lot of fun, a dessert get together, but it doesn't get the attendance like a meal will. So you just want to stick with the plan and have a meal. Again, these are not filed as sale events because they're educational only. But that also means you cannot bring product-specific information or carrier information. So what you'll have is a Medicare 101. You know, the Medicare made clear from United, that's okay because that's educational, even though it's, you know, United. I believe Aetna has one as well. Most carriers do. That's okay. We just want to make sure there's nothing product-specific. We're not going over Aetna's copays. We're not going over, you know, any of the dual plans with United. Just Medicare 101. We also, I've seen this, and you don't want to do it. Do not talk about the other lines you sell, such as annuities. I've seen people do that, and people that attend tend to get annoyed with that because they feel like I'm here for a Medicare event. Now what else are you trying to sell me? So you want to just talk about Medicare A, B, C, D. That's it. Okay. Some more best practices. So again, you know, about the seminars, what can you give out? You can give out your business cards. You can give out generic educational approved information. If you want to make something of your own, just send it to us prior and we can get that approved by our compliance officer just to be safe. But most people use stuff that was already created. Why go through that again? You can give out business reply cards. You can explain why a prospect would want to use your service. You know, there's no charge at using an agent. Why do this alone? You want to go over things such as, you know, what is original Medicare? What's an Advantage plan? Supplements, enrollment, rules, you know, the basics, right? So again, these seminars now, the dinner seminars, they're for people turning 65. So they're new to Medicare. So we want to make sure our presentation is geared towards that person. How do I sign up for Part B? You know, when I'm retiring, how long do I have? You kind of want to focus on that end of things versus what you probably do during AEP with someone that's already in the Medicare world, right? So you want to kind of go back and start from the beginning with them. Our attendance is pretty good. I mean, we use a great vendor. That's why Lisa's on the call today. They drive attendance to these things. I have seen somebody that had 65 people in one shot, all new to Medicare, okay? So these get a great turnout, but they are a lot of work and there's a lot of follow-up. So again, more of the best practices. You know, we're averaging, like I just mentioned, you know, we have about like 50 or so people per seminar. Now I say that what we want to do is we want to make sure we're looking at an area that someone's not doing a seminar every week already there. Okay, because if you're going to hit a spot where people are already saturated, you're not going to have 50 plus people, maybe 12, which isn't so bad. They're all new to Medicare, but let's try to think of spots maybe where you haven't seen or heard of these going on. And you also want to look at places that have a population, you know, like it's, you know, real pretty in the countryside, but may not get a good turnout, right? So we want to kind of think of these guys are working. So if I do it somewhere where there's a big factory or somewhere where a lot of people might, you know, be leaving work and come here, think strategically when you're looking at a location. We've had as high as 130 people in one night, which was a little too much. You almost don't want that much. You want to have a manageable crowd. I think like 40 is probably good if there's like 3 of you working it. You don't want so many people there that at the end they're all trying to talk to you and then they're waiting in line and they're getting frustrated because you're tied up with this one person that won't stop talking. So you want to have a crowd you can manage. I recommend always having at least 1 or 2 people there to help you as well, just to work the crowd at the end. You know, you do not need to invite people. These numbers we've seen is just by using leading response, right? You want to tell the vendor the event location and time, which is leading response, and Lisa will get on, you know, this presentation in a few slides down. But her team, they'll create a registration portal for you and drive attendance. So they handle that. They're going to get that turnout for you. They're going to give you a portal that's specific to you and your event. You can log in. You can see who's RSVPing. You can see their first name, last name, phone number, address, income. You can, you know, mark them as confirmed that they're going to attend. So you'll have a nice roster of prospects whether these people show up or not, because you'll have some no-shows, you'll have that information and data. So you can put them in your mailing list, send them a Christmas card, send them a, hey, open enrollment's around the corner mailing. That information's yours, right? Leading response will follow up with a color mailer specific to your location and event. We'll show you an example of that a few slides down of what that invite looks like. And that's probably why they get such a good turnout, because their invites, they're very appealing. They'll also do some Facebook posts with paid ads for you. And then that mainly, most of the attendance from what I've seen comes from the mailer, but they can add that Facebook on, and that might throw you, maybe 5 to 10 more people, okay? So again, location and venue, kind of touched on this, but the locations we want where population is dense. So, or near somewhere where a lot of people might work. Like by me, we've got Pfizer and Electric Boat, right? Now, granted, Electric Boat, they're probably going to get a union retiree plan, so it might not target there, but just as an example, you're thinking about where a lot of people are working. I'm not doing it somewhere that's, way off the beaten path. You also want to remember, obviously these guys are working, so they'll travel maybe 30 or 40 minutes tops to attend. Restaurants are usually the best location. So if you can think of a place, I tend to tell people, think of places you go. Some of the places I've used around me, or not me personally, but I've found for my agents, are places that I go to regularly. One, because I'm asking you to serve a dinner for $15 a person, and most of them, that's already kind of a pain, right? So I've got to think of, right, who's willing to work with me here? What I'll do in those cases too is I'll say, hey, I know the dinner, I'm asking you to scale down your pricing, but charge me a room fee, whatever I can do to make up that difference. So that is a way that you can kind of negotiate with them. But think of places you go to. You want a place people recognize or know or heard of. I have seen things flop where people pick venues that maybe they're cheap, but it's in kind of a rough area and it's a place that no one's ever heard of. So let's think of the main chains and popular spots, right? Hotels are okay. I have had to do that because we had a hard time finding a restaurant in this one area near me, and we got a good turnout. But I am going to say with that disclaimer, we got a good turnout because it's a hotel people know and go to. They have live music. They have a restaurant there. A lot of places host events there. So that's why that worked out. I can't say that every hotel everywhere is going to work out if you're desperate for a venue. That might not get a turnout. This one did, but it's because of the hotel it was, right? So again, places, locally that are known is best. Diners, they're cheap. Pizza places, any kind of chain or family type restaurant, keeping that, meeting that price point and people know the name. Definitely you don't want to go high end because you're asking for a $15 dinner. So how's that even going to be possible? It's not an annuity seminar. Some of you are used to doing that. These are Medicare seminars, different. It's got to be cheaper. And you want a separated room or area. I've seen it all different ways. The guys that chance it and maybe do a seminar without a private room are the ones that have been doing them for a long time and know they're taking that risk and are comfortable sort of presenting on the fly, right? If you're not using a separate room, it can get loud. Somebody's kid can be crying right next to you, and there's really nothing you can do. You can't tell them to be quiet. It's a public restaurant, right? You got a blender going off. You got somebody on a phone. So if you're not using a separate room, I'd only recommend that if you've been doing these for a long time and you really know what you're doing and you know the restaurant and you're comfortable. Otherwise, you really want a separate room because it can get loud. Again, some more best practices continued for you. So the venue, parking is important. Most people, you're like suburban like me here in Connecticut, we want a parking lot. But, if you're in Stanford or you're in New York or you're somewhere where people are used to street parking and that's the norm, then, that's probably just fine. I mean, they know the area and they know what's going on. But if you pick a spot that has a parking lot, it might make things easier for most attendees, right? If you don't have a parking lot and there's a garage, maybe put that instructions in the invite if you have to. The price is important. Again, it's got to be $15 and under a person, but you can negotiate that with the room fee. Don't forget that, okay? You want to meet with the venue in person. So, a lot of people try emailing and cold calling these places. I don't know how far you're going to get because, you know, you're asking for a favor. You're asking for a cheap dinner for a lot of people. You're better off, like I said, think of places that know you, that maybe you have a friend that manages or you go to regularly. You're going to have better luck getting a venue that you kind of have a feel for, you frequent. You can pitch that they're also getting free advertising, which is true. You know, you're doing a mailer to, you know, 3,000 people with the name of their restaurant. So that is something else you can throw in there. Private clubs like country clubs and banquet facilities don't draw as well. I've done that. I did a private club in Maine and we had a decent turnout, but I think again, like that hotel, it was, he picked a spot that people knew and were familiar with. So if you're, you know, a country club member or something, it could work maybe if it's a popular place that people hear of. Maybe they have comedy shows, but just keep that in mind. The best times and days tends to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. Can you do a Tuesday, Wednesday? Yeah. Can you do a Monday, Wednesday? Sure. But most people try to do a Tuesday, Thursday time slot. That being too, because if I have my Tuesday night seminar and, you know, maybe 3 people don't show, I'm going to give them a call on Wednesday and say, hi, John, I'm sorry we missed you last night. Just want to let you know I have another seminar tomorrow, same place, same time if you'd like to attend. So it gives you like that day in between to capture any of the no-shows and offer them the Thursday spot. So what we're saying here is you do, it's, you know, it's one mailing, but you'll have 2 dates. You'll have the Tuesday and the Thursday, same week, same time, same place usually. You can switch it up. You can do somewhere on Tuesday, somewhere different on Thursday if they're kind of near each other, but most people try to stick it with the same venue. So do you have to do 2 nights? No, you can get away with 1, but just know if you're only doing 1 night, you're going to likely have a bigger group in one shot. So you're going to want to make sure you have enough people working with you to manage that. I think the 2 nights is a little easier because you might have like 20 something and 20 something, and the crowd's a little more manageable than 50 something all at once. The start time, 6 o'clock is good. 6:30, I recommend if you're closer to New York, Stanford, areas with a lot of traffic, I think 6:30 is better. But if you're somewhere a little more desolate like Maine and here like in suburban Connecticut, 6 is fine. Lunch meetings, you're not going to do lunch meetings because these people are still working. So you're not going to get a turnout. You want to make these dinner seminars. They're coming from work. They're bringing a friend from work with them, making it a fun night type of thing, right? So the meals, now this is just some of the stuff I've picked up on, like how we want to do this flow. Do you have to do everything like this says? No, you know, you can do anything that you want to do. It's your seminar. This is just what I've picked up on what seems to work. So you want to have water, you know, probably soda is nice too. Some, you know, coffee depending, and salad, bread, or something small that comes out right away when they get there. So bread and butter is fine with get some drinks out. They have something to pick on. That's all they're going to get until after the presentation. Okay, so you want them to tell them the food is going to come out when you're done with your presentation. Okay, the reason being is that while they're eating, that's when you're going to go around table by table and say, hi, Jenny, I'm, you know, Ron, again, nice to sit with you. What's your situation? How can I help you? That's when you're going to connect with them. So if you just get up there and do a presentation, all the food comes out and they're eating while you're talking, as soon as you're done, they're up and they're out. Kind of want to keep them there so you actually get to talk to them, find out what their needs are, hopefully have some people that really want to book an appointment with you, right? That's kind of the way to trap them. I know it's not the nice word, but keeping them there, right? So again, you let them know, you know, we'll answer questions once they have dinner and they're settled. Keep them there, like we mentioned, gives the agent plenty of time to go around and talk to everyone. I've had seminars, you know, where we had like 65 people show up and it was a big room to work. So what I did that night is I ordered dessert on top of it. So I had, you know, cannolis come out too, just to keep them there longer because I was afraid these agents weren't going to have enough time to talk to everybody. So I want to keep them in the room. Because the food's not coming out until you're done talking, your presentation needs to be no more than 20 minutes. If you go over 20 minutes, 1, no one's listening anymore, okay? 2, you're giving them way too much information and you're probably confusing them and their eyes are just glazing over. And you don't want to give them all the answers. That's why they need you. So you want to get up there, you want to give them the ABCs, you know, the basics. Everything else should be a follow-up appointment, okay? That is the goal of this, not to give them all the answers and then they can go home and sign up online. The materials for the event that you want to bring, business cards. I've seen people make folders. I think that's nice. You know, they staple their business card to the folder, put a couple handouts in there that they think are helpful, things that they found on, you know, CMS. You know, whatever you decide, but they want something to take home with them. And they also want to take notes. So if you're not going to print out the slides, you know, like the Medicare 101 presentation you're doing, if you don't want to print that whole thing out, that's understandable because that's expensive to print. At least give them some paper and a pen so they can take notes while you're talking. Again, more materials, you know, business reply cards are good, or something they can fill in to make an appointment or be called for. Now, with the presentation, if you want to project a PowerPoint, I've seen people do that, and I've seen people just talk off handouts, and I've seen somebody talk off no handouts because he's that good he doesn't even need a handout. So whatever your style is and how you're comfortable, if you want to present with a projector, with a PowerPoint, you know, bring your own stuff because you can't always guarantee the venue is going to have everything. You can project on a screen or the wall. You know, you can get these things at Walmart or Amazon. Make sure all of that's working, and if it's not, have a backup plan. Have those slides printed so you can just talk off handouts so you're not fumbling and panicking, right? Again, you don't need to project. It's okay to talk off handouts, and it kind of depends on the venue. You know, if the room's really tight and small, they might not even be able to see your presentation on the wall. They might be better off looking at handouts and you're walking around talking through the handouts. Depends on the venue, depends on your style. Registration list, you know, you'll get that right from the portal that Leading Response will provide you. You can print out who's registered, and as they come in, whether it's you, whether it's someone that's helping you, you know, just check off who's coming in so you'll know who attended. Now the presentation, we have sample Medicare 101 presentations. You know, I can give you that. I always tell everybody, you know, look at this like the bare bones, and then take it and tweak it how you want. You know, if there's some slides in there you want to take out, if there's a slide you want to add, I think it's a really nice touch when people do an about me slide. You know, hi, my name's Serena. I've been in insurance for this long. I love my dogs and I like to boat, whatever, right? Just something that makes it a little more personalized and it's yours. So once I give you that sample presentation and you kind of want to play with it a little bit, make sure the numbers are accurate and everything, you can send it back to us and our graphic department can personalize it to you. So we can take your logo, your information, pop it on there, and it looks like it's your agency's presentation. Again, it'll cover the basics, you know, how to get Medicare A and B, basic benefits, what's a supplement, what's an advantage plan, the enrollment rules, because that's going to apply. These guys are going to be retiring soon, right? The role of an agent. I like to remind people, you know, let them know you don't charge them. Because a lot of people think, well, this is going to cost me more. It's okay to talk about, hey, I'm compensated from the carriers. All the carriers pay me the same, so there's no bias. And there's no cost to you, so why would you do this alone? You know, why it's important for them to work with you. One thing you want to point out, too, is, you know, you're there all year. So if there's a claim issue, if there's a customer service issue, they just get in touch with you. They just buy something over the phone from 1-800 whatever. They don't know who that person is. They have a claim issue, and 3 months from now, they're on their own. So remind them of that. You want to, this is to sell yourself too. Again, that presentation, no more. This is 25 minutes. I'm saying 20, but you know, definitely no more than that. And the one-off questions, you're going to get some, you know, hey, I have an HSA and I'm on TRICARE, and those should all be encouraged to book appointments, okay, rather than confusing everybody and going down a tangent. Hey, you've got a great question there. It sounds like your needs are, you know, particular. Why don't we set something up, right? So those we want to take offline. Follow up, again, it's very important. These people are turning 65 in the next 1 to 7 months. So, you know, you're going to kind of keep them in there, keep them roped in, you know, let them know, hey, you know, I sell dental too if you need anything and whatnot. Just don't lose touch. Not that you're harassing them, but, you know, just make sure they know you're there. Maybe mark your calendar if you have a system where, you know, when it's time for them to apply for Part B, you can send them a reminder. And offer to help them with that process, phone calls and emails. Some people, again, will still be working and might decide to not sign up right away, but it doesn't mean they don't have friends and family. So treat everybody as a prospect. Follow up, again, is going to differentiate your results. An average will be 15 to 20 enrollments if you have a strong follow-up, okay? So if you're doing the math, and when we go over the cost of these, you know, you should be making your money back and then some. Should be getting to a point where you're profiting. You also get enrollments with people that registered but never attended. So just because Susie didn't show up, maybe something happened, and when you reach out and say, sorry, we missed you, I'd be happy to meet you if you'd like me to come to your home or go over anything. Still a potential lead, so don't let those go away. Other things to know, again, turning 65, so it's a new to Medicare Advantage sale or Medicare supplement, whatever it winds up being. You can run these seminars all year. So it's not like, oh, it's AEP, I can't do these. Well, these people don't even know what AEP is yet. It doesn't apply to them. So you could do these year round. The only thing is, obviously, in the winter, depending where you are, you've got the chance of snow. So you might want to pick snow dates or just keep that in the back of your mind. You know, they are going to be full commission. It's not prorated because they're using Medicare. So the renewals will start in January, regardless of the effective date. Again, you've got leading response that'll send you that registration portal. You want to send anything out to your prospects or other books of business when you're doing these. So you might say, just because leading response is doing all the invites, you know, if you've got some other people maybe you've been talking to, feel free to invite them. And we can help you set that up. All right. Okay, so the cost, right? Not cheap. The cost for the vendor is roughly $2,400. What I will say is that many times Pinnacle, or if you're under an agency, a lot of times we'll offer to co-opt that cost. Commonly it's 50%, but that's, don't take that number and panic, because there's ways we can help you with that. Other things that can help in terms of the cost of the night, you've got the meal cost too. So this is $2,400 is going to be the cost to get those invites out, to get the people there. They do a great job. They will get you attendance. You will make sales. So you should be making this back and then some, but talk to your FMO or whoever you work with and see if that's something they can help co-op for you. The meal cost, we can't forget now, we've got to feed these people in the venue, right? So a lot of times the carriers will help you pay for those meals. They know, you're not presenting them, but they're hoping that at the follow-up appointments, hey, don't forget me. So they'll help you with that. I've seen them do that. And it depends on the carrier. Some carriers like rather helping with the leading response costs and the meals you're on your own and vice versa. But either way, the carriers are interested and willing to help, right? But you want to pick a carrier that you write. So you're not going to just reach out to someone that you haven't made any sales for and ask for money, because that's, who would do that, right? So pick someone that you write, and see what they have going on. Talk to your broker manager, because a lot of them are willing to help you with this. But you will be held to sales. So, you're not going to take money and then not sell anything. Remember, they're going to want to see numbers, okay? So now I'm going to transition this over to our friend Lisa at Leading Response.
So, hi everyone, I'm Lisa Halava from Leading Response. Our company has been doing seminars since 1995, and we're credited as the company that created the dinner seminar concept. So we've done over 1 million seminar events, and that's equated to over 38 million event responders to these. So I wanted to share with you, these are some results that I've been seeing. This one, the top one, is a Medicare turning 65. And these are 2 dinner events, and the average response rate that we see from a 3,000 piece invitation is about 40 to 60 responders. So this one did over that. So the average percentage is about a 1.5% to 2% from your campaign. So this one at the top did 2, and they had some overage, so they were able to fill the nights and have a wait list. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that part of it, the wait list. If you do find yourself having a wait list and that could support a 3rd night, you can, as long as the restaurant has capability, you can, in the portal, there's a way to add a date. So then the next caller would be offered the next date. And I do see that quite often, actually. And then on the turning 65 events, we typically will market to people that are about ready to turn 65, typically ages or birth dates, I should say, 1 to 8 months of them turning 65, and then both, whether it's turning 65 or Medicare 101, within a close radius to the venue. So as close as I can get it. Some rural areas are a little bit tricky, but typically 10 to 15 miles. Medicare 101 is typically marketing to people that are 64 and a half to 70. Sometimes if there's a DSNP qualifier, you can do an extra layer with the income. So a lot of times I'll see income under 30,000. So this one did over their average response, and they got a 4.3 response rate, still dinners. So both of them were dinners. So this is an invitation for Medicare turning 65. This gives you your happy, it's like a event type of feel. Well, it's like a happy early birthday. It's all festive with the balloons and that sort of thing. And it has the invitation has like Medicare Made Easy, it has some bullet points that pertain to people as they're about ready to turn 65. And then on it, it will have the event dates, where they're having it, of course, the disclosure, which will include your agent name and license number for CMS guidelines. There's two ways that they can respond. The 1-800 number goes directly to our call center. They're available 24/7, so they're not being left to voicemail and that type of thing. It's also TTY compliant, so they for the hearing impaired. And if they don't want to make a phone call, there's a landing page that they can just type into their browser and make an online reservation. And as soon as that reservation is made, you'll be able to see in real time the response. So you'll see their name, email, phone number, all the good stuff, and then how your events are filling up. Typically, we recommend 2 or 3 nights on the invitation. This invitation is more geared for the Medicare 101, so it's learning about Medicare. The bullet points are somewhat similar to the turning 65, but it talks a little bit more to people that are also like the 65 to 70-year-olds, but the same sort of layout. And also worth mentioning, these are all personalized. So you see that Jonathan Thompson or Thompson Party, those are for the prospects' names. What we learned is having everything personalized on the invitation seems to really resonate with people, and it it piques their interest a little bit more, kind of like when you saw the Coke campaign. You're probably familiar with it, where Coke had changed their campaign and put people's names on the Coke bottles, and people were going to the store and grabbing them and giving it to their friends and that type of thing. That also resonates really well with direct mail. Some of the best practices that we see are, I know Serena covered a lot of this, but weeknight dinners, so Monday through Thursday. Mondays can be hit or miss. I've heard some good and bad from Mondays, so you would just have to try one to see if it works out for you. But Tuesday through Thursday works really well. Um, the only time I don't recommend Wednesdays is if you're in an area that has a lot of church services. That would be the only time, but otherwise they work well. 6 or 6:30 start time, having at least 2 nights on one invitation. That way, uh, if you only had one night, that would limit their options to attend. So if you have at least 2 nights, that just gives them more of a chance to respond to your event. Um, Restaurants only and with private rooms. So we've had some people in the past that have gone to a restaurant, booked the restaurant, but they were kind of in the back corner and they could hear the noise from the other patrons and it just got too distracting. So definitely with the private room, and then make it fun. So these events have that more of an event feel to them. I know that some of the agents that I work with will even pass out birthday cards as people are walking in. Some will even do music, maybe the songs that were the greatest hits from their high school era, from the year they graduated, before they present, not while they're presenting. And then the professionally designed invitations, we handle all that. We have a creative team in-house that handles all these. you have about 5 to 7 seconds, but for a direct mail piece to capture someone's attention. So all of these invitations are created in that manner just to have the flow from left to right and so forth. So there's a certain dynamic to it. Using the right list and within a close radius to the seminar venue, and no longer, hang on one second, I'm going too fast on the slides. No longer than week between seminar dates. So when you're doing your seminars, a lot of the people that I work with will have it in the same week, maybe Tuesday, Thursday. Others will have like a Thursday one week and then a Tuesday the following week. Others have a situation with their schedule where they need to have a little bit additional time. So they may have Tuesday one week and then skip a week and then have Tuesday the following week. When it gets to have longer than that one week in between, that second date, you can have too long in homes, and that's when that second date can suffer. So it can have the reverse effect. And then market enough to fill the room. So the 3,000 pieces will generally get you the 40 to 60 RSVPs. So that equates to 20 or 30 per night. If you have a group that has, or a room, I should say, that has 50, you may want to market a little bit more to help fill that room because it just gives that nice buzzy feel for the events. It makes the prospects feel like, hey, this is going to be a really great event. Looking forward to it. And it also will help you kind of feel like this is going to be great. I have such a full room. And then consider social media. So we have a Facebook boost that can complement the direct mail piece. Um, it may not always make sense for turning 65 events. And the reason why is because I'm limited on what I can uh, target for age for the Facebook. So I can either choose 63 and 64-year-olds, or I can do 65 plus. So if you're doing the Medicare 101, it would make sense. But if you're doing the turning 65, it wouldn't necessarily, unless you're doing like a DSNP type of, or you can do that sort of campaign. Um, and then make your own introductory and reminder calls. We do text reminders and email reminders, but we do recommend that you call the people. You'll be able to get that email that like a congratulations, you got your first reservation. You'll be able to know when you receive them. And then you can just call and say, hey, thank you so much for responding to my seminar. I look forward to seeing you. And then just a heads up, about 1 to 2 days prior to the event, we'll be calling you again as just a friendly reminder about the event. That really seems to pave the way for that future prospect to client relationship. And then have a staff member at the event. Doing this all on your own can become very overwhelming, so you don't want to be the person that checks them in, does the presentation, make sure everybody has the water and food, and then also to just chat with them as they're eating. So it doesn't even have to be a staff member per se. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, just somebody to help you out so it's not so overwhelming. And also so you don't miss people. And then do your own presentation. Everybody's different on how they present, and they're buying from you. So it's always better to do your own presentation, and people connect with people for different reasons. So it'll be just fine, and I'm sure everyone will do great. Of course, be human, and then call the next day for that appointment. So the items to get started, we'll need about 6 weeks prior to your first seminar date from the time that you have booked the venue. And the venue items that we'll need is the venue name, address, dates, and times. Ideal venues that we've seen are places like Golden Corral, Perkins, Olive Garden, Red Lobster, Texas Roadhouse, any mom and pop diners or Italian restaurants, places like that, definitely with the private rooms. And then what I'll need from you is your agent name, your company name, your physical address, phone number, email address. This is for my record, so I can create the campaign for you. All that goes on the invitation is going to be your agent name and your Medicare license number. It can be NPN or state license. Some people include their company name as well on the invitation, but as far as your physical address, phone number, email address, that does not go on the invitation. And then I'll need the email address to set up for the email reminders, because those get set up, it acts as if it's coming from you, but we actually drive that for you. And then the text reminders comes through rsvp.org, so it's more generic. And then you'll want to set up some time with me to go over the RSVP platform walkthrough, and that typically takes 20 to 30 minutes, so I can share with you some insights. There's neat things that you can do, not only with seeing your responders, but you can print reports, you can print the event roster, you can move people from one event to the other, you can move people from the wait list to reserved, different little neat things, even print name tags. And that is it, I believe, on my part. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Yep. You want to just go to the next slide, please?
Next slide. Okay.
Yeah, so I showed my info, but so I answered some questions in the chat box, and then after I answered them, I X'd it out, so I think I deleted them, but I remember them, so I'm just going to go through them. One of the questions was, can we announce if like Cigna's a sponsor, a carrier sponsoring tonight's event? Most people don't do that. You can. I've got one person that does. Most people just, it's a quiet agreement, and the carrier reps are usually sitting there. A lot of times, like the carrier rep will even show up to help you, but they don't announce themselves and they're kind of quiet about it. You can do it, but you don't have to. Yes, when you're talking about Medicare Advantage, you can certainly mention, an Advantage plan does have built-in dental, does have a built-in, fitness membership, hearing aids, because that is a differentiator. That's a basic element of Advantage versus supplement. You're not getting into actual cost shares, but you can mention that Advantage plans, that's how they're different. So that's okay. The room fee is absolutely separate from the meal cost, as is the gratuity. Okay, so the room fee, that's what we use to sort of negotiate at the place, because, I understand they want to make money. So that's another question that was in there. And if anybody has anything else, feel free to type it in there now. Yes, you will get this recording. The recording should go out automatically, if not by end of day today, by tomorrow. But I will email you guys, the ones that you joined today. I'll make sure you guys get the slide deck too. And I'll just give it a second in case anybody else types anything else in. How far in advance should we book the seminars? Leading response needs about a 5 to 6 week window. So 5 to 6 weeks, just so they have enough time to market and get it ready for you. And we'll just give everybody a couple more minutes, see if there's anything else.
Serena, there's also a question in here. If a dinner is typically around $25, can we offer a room fee and bring the cost down to $15? Does the tip count against the $15 per person?
I feel like that's what I answered already. But yes, yeah, the room fee can offset that cost, and the gratuity and room fee don't count towards that meal cost.
Okay.
How many carriers do you need to have with Pinnacle? Typically, they like to see at least 2. If you have just one, if you're a big writer for that, then, it's not something like it has to be this way, but usually they like at least 2. When should you introduce a provider partner? Do you let them introduce themselves? Most people don't. Can you? Yeah, I probably would stay away from it though, to be honest with you. But if you do, usually they do it right at the beginning. I only have one person that ever does that. Will anyone from Pinnacle attend? So I'm a marketer at Pinnacle. I handle the Northeast. I go to my guys' seminars. So whoever you work with at Pinnacle, you can certainly ask them if they would be willing to attend. I know I do for my agents. Thank you, Lisa. It is great to work with you. That's so that's nice. Thank you. She is great to work with. That's why she's on this call, right? Let's see if there's anything else. Yep. The $2,400 cost is the per meeting or overall. That's for a mailing campaign. And in that mailing campaign, you might have a Tuesday and a Thursday night. So that's one campaign. That answers your question. Can the arriving restaurants Write their names upon arrival. You mean the people coming in, can they fill in a sign-in sheet? If that's what you mean, yes. Yep, absolutely. Yep, you can have an optional sign-in sheet. A lot of people, what I do most commonly, what we do is we print the registration list and then I just confirm their first and last name and I check next to their name that they're there or highlight it. Another thing you can do, I just thought of this, if they're comfortable, it can feel a little awkward to ask, but if they're comfortable, you could ask for their birthday, just their month and day. You don't have to ask for the year because you obviously don't need that. But if they're comfortable giving you their birthday, then it's kind of nice to track on your logs. So you'll know when to reach out to them again. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check with Kevin because educational events, you can have an optional sign-in sheet. I've done seminars and it's always been fine. As long as we say it's optional, it's not mandatory. Fill it out if you want to, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. But we'll take that offline, Yuri, if you've gotten different answers. Okay, and if there's nothing else, then we'll go ahead and end this call. And I appreciate you guys all coming out. I'll be following up with an email in a few minutes, and then you'll get this recording as well, so you can listen to my voice again if you want to. And it's our pleasure, so thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Serena, for having me.
You got it. All right. See you later.